just wanted to show a quick issue I'm having with the Details West signals. Mentioned before, they're actually very nice. I think they're, physically well detailed. They look pretty well built. However, one thing I'm noticing that I'm dealing with is, and I'm going to try to show this the best I can. I don't know how well it's going to show up. The way they bring their wires down, it's the typical teeny weeny, I don't know what size it is, 30, 34, whatever, wire. Nothing really unusual about that. But what they do is they bring down, the cathode and the anode from each of the LEDs wrapped together, and then they solder together the commons. And what that makes for is an extremely difficult installation under the layout because they're all intertwined, and you can see what I had to do here. I kind of learned that you take it back as far as you think you're going to need, and then you got to come in and individually take out each of the, let's call it the, in this case probably the cathode, because these are common anode signals. So the one lead that you need to actually hook up. So you see I did that by backing it off, but it's extremely cumbersome. Very poor design in my opinion. I'd love to hear from other folks that have actually installed Details West signals, if they've done something similar. So what I decided to do, just because there's no way I'm going to deal with this under the layout, it took me an hour almost to get this to where I am right here, because the wire is so small and you got to play with it. What I'm going to do is take what I did on the other signal that I did yesterday. Take some spare leftover of the 6-conductor cable that I'm using, 6-conductor 24 gauge solid that I'm using for the signal runs back to the S-mini boards and whatnot. Strip some of the wires. So here I have them kind of stripped and taken out, and then I'm going to solder them on to the ends. I know this is hard to see, guys. I apologize. I took a still picture that might show it as well, how Steve put it in the video. The ends here, because you just cannot deal with this under the layout, in my opinion. So I went back as far as I need to get enough room to comfortably do the solder. I mean, it's nice that the common, oops, why am my shadow there? The common is all soldered together. That's great, but it makes it extremely difficult to get these wires separated to any length. And most of us under the layout are going to need a fair amount of length of these to go to whatever we're hooking up, to resistor boards like I'm doing. If you remember the old resistor, that's just an example of the kind of boards that we're using underneath our layout to put the resistor in there, to the current limiting resistor, or whatever you're doing. You got to get to it. You got to physically get to these wires to do something with them. And even with this, what, 2.5, maybe 3 inches, that's not going to be enough under the layout to go anywhere, at least for what I'm doing. So that's why we're going to go solder these on. The extra lead length be much easier to work with under the layout. So I'll test them here with my Logic Rail signal tester to verify everything's working before I take it out to the layout. That's a great little device. If you haven't got one of those, I highly recommend it for testing your signals on the bench or even on the layout. You can take it out underneath the layout. It's just a portable little doodad. You need a 9-volt battery, and it tests either common, and again I apologize, the light here is not great, we don't have studio lights, but this little connector you can test common anode or common cathode. Common anode or common cathode, and then you can put all 3 signals up. You can even toggle through them if you want, but usually I just put, in my case, the common anode here, and then touch each lead to where I set the switch, make sure I got the signal to work before I actually take it out and do an install. So just a note on that. Here's the other ones I separated. Again, this is probably hard to see. I don't know if against the white background if you can see that okay, but since they're all intertwined, you can see the 3 coming together there and the solder on the common, which is nice. I mean, that's a nice thought, but man, I don't know if they ever thought about, or if Details West installed any of their signals. Very annoying. What else could you do? I guess you could cut and unsweat that, and then break all the leads, and then coil them back, as far as you think you needed. But then you could probably mark the 3 common leads with a Sharpie or something like that. That might work okay. Then resolder it to give you some more length. It'd be a lot easier to take them apart. But the way they did it, soldering out together and then bringing them all down individually. You can see I went back that far. To go any further, I have to come back up toward my fingers here. But once you do that, things start wrapping around. It gets very, very difficult. So love to hear comments from anyone that has actually installed these signals. Again, nice signals, very well made. I like the detail of them. And the saving grace is they do give you, the way they mount it on the layout is through, there's a little frame I think I showed, and then this will sit in the frame, so you can drill a large hole. So having these soldered on with some heat shrink tubing and a bigger diameter doesn't matter, because you can drill a pretty good sized hole to get in there. So that's good. That's a saving grace that makes it easier. But spending about an hour a signal to have to get them ready just to get them on the layout seems a little bit excessive. So just wanted to pass that on. Again, love to hear comments from anyone that has actually installed these. Maybe I'm doing something wrong, but I don't see how else to do it, because the way they're all intertwined like that, and to get the free length of lead you need for the actual color hookups, it takes a lot of work, and it's tiny wire, very tedious. You got to wrap it through, pull it through. I don't want to break them, so that's enough lead length there for me to go ahead and solder it. So just want to pass that on. Again, love to hear comments from anyone who's actually installed them. Am I right, or am I just barking up the wrong tree? All right, real quick, I'll just show you how we test these. For those that aren't aware of this device, it's very handy. So I have the common anode connected there to the white. The little switch, the little jumper here set on common anode. And then you get your individual leads. And in this case, I have it set on the green. So I'm just going to touch it and to the green. Oh, okay. So this is the red lead. See it flashing there? That's the red lead. So now I know. So I'll solder a red 24 gauge jumper on that. And then you try to get another one here. And sorry about this. I know it's not the highest quality. This is just a guy with his cup of coffee holding his camcorder. All right. So there's the green lead. So I know the green lead there, and I know it works. And then obviously the last one, if I'm soldering, I don't know, it's got to be yellow, right? I hope so. Yep, there it is. So that's how this device works. Again, pretty handy, not overly expensive. I don't know, I forget what it was, but do recommend it. It's nice to have. Test your signals at the bench. And again, it's small enough. You can see it's only like 2 inches square. It's not quite square. It's a little rectangle, but very handy little device there. Again, I apologize for the lack of good lighting here, but all right. So that tests the signal. So I'm going to solder these leads on, get it out, and get it installed in the layout. And a little bit later, we're going to take you around later part of the update and show all the different signals we have, at least lit so far. Again, they're not computer controlled yet, but we are getting them lighted. So we'll take a little tour and see how things look. Alright, just to kind of show, here's this signal pretty much ready to be installed. And there it is. And what I did was I soldered them up, added some heat shrink tubing, and then put an extra sleeve over the top just to keep the bundles together from each of the heads. And then I put the two commons that came out to one. And then before you go to the layout, there it is hooked up. There's the common now for top and bottom head. And then you just verify that you're good. So I'll take the red, and I did this already, so I'm not going to show you all of it. But, oh, there we go. So we got the red. Okay. And we have yellow. Check the yellow. Oh, it's hard to do with one hand. Sorry, guys. And we have, yep, yellow. And just for completeness, I'll show you that the green actually works. So there's the, it's hard to do with one hand, a cup of coffee and a signal. There you go, there's green. Alright, so now that's ready to be installed in the layout. Still gotta be careful, there's still a lot of really tiny wires, and while I did drill a bigger hole, you don't want to snag anything when you come through. But now, under the layout, we'll be dealing with the 24 gauge wires here, and then the common being a single 24. A lot easier to deal with. So that's what we're going to do for this signal. All right, here's the nice thing about the Details West signals is they give you that little frame so you can drill a nice, good size hole, pretty much up to the size of that frame, which is pretty big. So it does make it nice for installing the signals, and you can, nice big hole, get things through there nice, and it's going to go through there. I won't push it through right now because I need to work it with both hands, but so that's how we'll do it. So there's the one I did yesterday, and then we'll get this one in. So that's what I discovered with Details West signals. All right, so this is, we'll show you some differences here. This is the one of the BLMA cantilever signals that we're using quite a bit, and all the BLMAs run the same way. What they do is they bring down, you can see the wires here. This will be one head, 4 different leads come out for each of the 4 signal heads. They have them individually wrapped. So this is the common, it's a different color. You don't know what colors the other ones are, so you got to test it to find out. But it's pretty easy. This took me about 3 minutes. You just kind of unwind, and depends how far back you want to go. It's pretty simple. In this particular case, the common wire was kind of the outer wire, so you can just kind of peel that off. That frees up the other ones, and you just peel them out as far as you want to go. So that's how BLMA does it. Again, the common, so you have 4 different commons coming down that you'll have to tie together to your voltage supply, 5 volts in our case. And then the individual leads, no way to tell what they are until you test them, either here on the bench, and then you might be able to mark them if you can still see it underneath the layout, or you install it and then you use this under the layout to find out, or you use your 5 volts and the resistor cards that you have already on the layout and determine what the colors are. So real quick, I'll go through, I'll hook this up, take a quick pause, and we'll go ahead and test one of these heads. Alright, so here's again, we're using a signal tester. Put the common to the common for on common anode, and I hooked up to 3 just to show this little switch. So I found them ahead of time, just touching the one that was actually on. So you can see we got the red signal, and then if I move the switch, I'll go yellow and green. So we know the signal head is good. And then what you might want to do, would make sense, I'll figure out how to do it, is mark that this is the lower right hand head. And even I don't know, with a Sharpie, if I could mark 2 dots for green, 1 dot for yellow, and then the other one's red, or something like that, just so you know what it is on the layout. If you're going to take the time to test them at the bench, which I recommend, a lot easier. You can also separate these here at the bench a lot easier. Then get the wires all labeled somehow. Again, these you got to drill a little bit smaller holes so you don't have as much leeway in mounting the signals. Although you could go bigger. If you drill the hole size that BLMA recommends, it's a nice snug fit. Oftentimes the signal bridge will stand by itself, but you're going to use some type of adhesive, a tacky glue or something to keep it in anyway, so you could go a little bit larger if you wanted to. So that's the BLMA. That's how they bring their down. Each head is individual with an individual common, not all tied together. So for each of these, you have to go through and do this, separate them, test it, make sure all the LEDs work. And then when you get on the layout, you have to get all 4 of the commons tied together over to your voltage supply. So that's how BLMA does it. Alright, so here's the Tomar signal. We are using some of these in the layout. These are the older signals that we're using, that CP97. And in fact, I might have to use this one. I had an extra, luckily, because I can't seem to get that red LED on the one on the layout to work. We'll show you that later on. Alright, so the one thing you'll notice immediately about the Tomar is the wire is slightly bigger, and it's actually color-coded. Nice. The white is the common for both heads. Nice feature. And then you have green, yellow, reds. Now, you don't know which is which, so you still have to test it. But that's a lot easier. The only disadvantage, so to speak, is you don't get a whole lot of length. So it depends, it's going to go through your bench work and everything. You don't have a whole lot of room to swing this over, in our case, to resistor boards or to wherever you're going. Obviously this has to go to your 5 volts or whatever voltage you're using to the common. These are common anode as well. So that's one thing. Again, if you needed to, you could also solder on additional length, but I try to set things up when we did it so I could use the length that's on these. So let's test it up, hook it up and test it, see how it looks. Alright, so here's the Tomar, and I'm glad we tested it because I think we have an issue with this red LED. And again, hooked up common anode. This is okay, so there's the bottom head. Red, works okay. But the top head red, no light, doesn't work. And this is a brand new signal, we just took it out of the packaging just 5 minutes ago. So I don't know. And it's the same thing. The one on the layout is doing the same thing. That's older. We've used it on the other layout, but it's the top red LED. me just go through the other ones. Yellow. Okay, bottom yellow. Works okay. This obviously will be top yellow. Works okay. And then the green. Top green. Works okay. And obviously, the last one. Well, this should be the bottom green. Yeah, and that works okay. So, I don't know. I guess I'll shoot a note to Tomar, and maybe I can send it back, and they can check it for me. This is literally brand new. Just came out of the package as Steve and I were shooting this video. I tested another brand new Tomar that I had, and it's fine. All the LEDs work. It's only a single head, but everything worked fine on that one. So I have two where the top red appears not to be working. One here and the one that's on the layout. Now the other one, same type as this, at the other end of CP97 works fine. And we'll show that later on when we show the signals in the layout. So, but again, I'm glad I tested it, because I would not now take this and put it on the layout knowing that I have a bad LED. That would be very annoying, and I'd be upset when we installed it on the layout. So highly recommend you test them. Again, this device is pretty handy. There's other ways you could do it. If you actually have voltage at your bench, you could do it, certainly. But this is nice. Just need a 9-volt battery, and you buy this little thing from Logic Rail Technologies. So there we go. So the Tomars, again, nicer in terms that they have the actual individual colors. A little bit shorter lead length. It's stranded, so you might want to tin these before you actually go ahead and hook them up. But that's how the Tomars work. All right, just for completeness, some of the other signals we have custom made by Integrated Signal Systems. The cantilever over in Wallace Junction, and the signal bridge that we're using for the intermediate at 103. What they do is they have a little different system. They have a long common wire, and then by length of wire, these are all green wires. This is kind of a reddish orange color. So the common is pretty easy to find. And then you have to kind of unwind it all, and you get your different lengths. And it is pretty obvious. But again, be aware, by shortest wire, it is relatively short. So again, make sure you have enough room to go to whatever you're connecting to, whether it's resistor boards in our case, or however you're hooking your signals up. So if you get something from Integrated Signal Systems, again, which we have 2 custom built, actually 2 others as well, we're probably not going to use in this layout, but that's how they do it. And they do give you recommended resistors if you're using 12 volts. We're using 5 volts, so I'm using 150 ohm resistors for that. So a little bit different methodology they have. Again, the longest one, the common lead. In this case, it is common anode. They'll make them for you either way, but most of the time, it's not, for the computer stuff, you want common anode. So the common one, a reddish orange, will be long, and then the individual colors will be red, next longest, yellow, and then green being the shortest. So it's pretty easy to tell. But again, test them. Test your signals before you install them. So that is how it's done by Integrated Signal Systems if you purchase custom-made signals from them. All right, real quick, I talked about the heat shrink tubing. One thing I found very useful is this kit. This is a heat shrink tubing kit of various sizes. Oh, pardon the glare there. I believe I purchased this. It was either through Mauser or DigiKey. I kind of forget. But if you go to those sites, I think it might have been Mauser. They had offered 2 different kits. I believe this is kit 1, and it has various sizes of heat shrink tubing. They're from the 3/64ths. You can see the compression ratios there. Then a 16th, 3/32, an 1/8, 3/16, and the largest being a 1/4. That's pretty good for the smaller stuff, and you get a fairly good selection. This is probably going to last me a long time. So highly recommend it. It's a good little kit to purchase. They do make another kit. You can see there, that's their kit 2, and that's larger sizes. That goes from 5/16 up to an inch, which probably for most of what we do modularity wise, probably have limited use for some that larger stuff, because the 1/4 inch is relatively good size heat shrink tubing. So not bad. Nice little kit. Again, just one of those things that recommended that we've gone through and purchased. And again, it was either through Mauser or DigiKey. I think it was Mauser. But again, check it out. There's the manufacturer information. So there's the kit 1 and the number of pieces you get in each kit. Not a bad thing. Nice little case. Keeps it all organized. You don't get pieces laying around all over the place. So that's what we use for heat shrink. Alright, so we did get some of the signals lit up. Here are the Details West ones we were talking about. There's a train sitting there waiting to get cleared. So we're going to go through and just show a little bit what they look like. And then we'll do some running. As I said, these two are, they're just lit now. They're not actually all hooked up. They are in just to see what they look like. Kind of give us something, a little activity here, a little animation on the layout. So we're going to take a look underneath and see how some of these look. So we can show you what we did to get them hooked up. Alright, a little crowded here. This shows the Details West signals, at least the reds hooked up. And one thing I recommend you do for safety, I put a piece of tape on all of these because this is where I want to connect the signal on the top there. If you connect it on the bottom by mistake, especially like when you're installing the signals on the layout, and if you even brush the signal lead on the bottom here on the other side of the resistor, it'll just go from 5 volts right to ground, and you'll blow up your signal. Trust me, I've done it. So to be safe, I cover that up so I can't inadvertently touch that with it, especially when we're installing signals and you're trying to get them all right. If you don't mark them ahead of time, you're going to be doing some testing to figure out what's what. Cover those up so you can't touch the ground side. So if you touch anything, you'll touch that side. Current will flow through the resistor and you won't blow your LEDs. So that's the temporary arrangement there. And the 5 volts is there. Looks kind of messy now. We'll straighten things up when we actually go to install them. But that's the one side of Eugene West. Okay, here's the eastward signal, Eugene West. And again, I have the tape to protect it. I didn't hook this one up yet. It's still just kind of hanging here. I find it works a lot better to take it to the bench, separate the leads, and then bring it back out and do it. So that's that. So again, we will at some point get this one hooked up, but since it's facing the other way, it's not seen quite as much. Not too worried about it, but we'll get it. But we do have it hooked up to go back to the in this case to the maxi node. All right, here's 94, and it's an intermediary. So I left these as green because that's normally what they would be. Again, just to give us some animation. There, it's green. Again, they're not computer controlled yet because if a train came the other way, they go red and everything. But for now, that's how they are. And then underneath again, there's the hookup. A little hard to see here. Black tape to protect it. And not all the leads are hooked up because again, I want to separate them all at the bench. But the green signals in this case are hooked up on this particular one. It's hard to see. You can see in there that's hooked up. So that's again, that's the intermediary here at 94. Here's the one end of 97. Again, that's the Tomar signal there on the right that I mentioned earlier that has the red LED burned out. So I don't know if you can tell, the one thing we were trying to get, and we actually did, the new signal there on the left, the prototype is actually reversed, but it doesn't matter. And on the right, you can see how it's dimmer. The Tomar signal is a little dimmer. That's the way it is. The older signals at 97 on the prototype are really hard to see, where the new ones are very bright. So there's that there. And again, the hookup underneath, a little kludgy, and it's hard to see because all the wires, but again, the black tape to protect it. And things hooked up there. And then the other end of 97. Again with the signals there, so they're hooked up, and again the left signal dimmer than the new one, which is the way it is in the prototype, so that works out okay. And again, it's probably hard to see in there. I won't show you all of it, but there it is, the way we're going to hook it up. And then we got the signal bridge. Oh, I see a slow moving intermodal. Again, this is an intermediary, so we left them in green on this side. that side. So they're green. Again, they don't change. You can see that signal should be red where the train's going. I know that, but need to get the computer working to do that. And then down here, pardon the move, and there it is, hooked up. And this is the integrated signal systems type. So it's got the ones I mentioned with the different lengths for the colors. But there they are, hooked up there. Only the green ones are hooked up for now. We'll get the rest hooked up when we decide to get ready to get the computer up and running. And there's the cantilever, the old cantilever, coming into Wallace Junction. Again, it's just set on red for now, and that's a bridge we have. We're going to be doing some concepts here, just to think about different things. I think put an overpass. That's an old German prototype bridge from the old layout. I just wanted to put it there, see what it looks like. Had to raise it for double stacks, but and then certainly get some of the details in there. So that's that side of Wallace Junction. And coming through Wallace, you can see we added just some stuff to play around here a little bit. And the prototype has where they unload gravel cars, and NS maintenance facility. And then the interlocking, the signals, and so we got some local power there on the branch lead. And then this signal here, and just red. It's connected, but it's just red. So that's what we're looking at there. Let's try to get some ideas for how we're going to do the scenery there at Wallace. This is all just temporary for now. And the typical underneath. Take a quick look. And that's one for the board. Again, only the red signals are hooked up. That's just what we did for that particular one on the underside of the layout. And here's one of the problems when you do temporary stuff. It's the upper left there will flash. I think we have a loose connection. But this is the one side of Eugene East coming into the yard. Again, that signals are, we just noticed it flashing. We had a little bit of work to get it to work because just the way we're doing it, we're kind of doing it haphazardly, to be honest with you. Again, there's the hookup underneath. Not sure everything's tight there because I just separated the 4 commons, and then you see there I just kind of shoved them in there. Didn't solder them together, which we're going to do when we get it finalized. So that signal might flash. The signal bridge itself, I did have it, we don't have that on yet. I ran out of connectors, the Panduit connectors I'm using, the crimp terminals. But we'll take a quick look underneath. I did get the boards installed. Alright, so there it is. There's the board for the 2 on the main line. I covered that terminal board because there's 12 volts on the tortoise. I didn't want to, again, make a mistake. I didn't put the masking tape on this one yet because I stopped doing the connections. And then for the other one, it's right there. That's for the interlocking, or I'm sorry, for the intermodal, coming out of the intermodal yard. Those 2 heads on that particular side. So they're there. Again, the cables are all here. Have them all. Just need to get them installed now once I get some connectors that should be coming in on Tuesday. Okay, it's a layout, not Tehachapi. Alright, well, we're here on the side of the road at Wallace Junction, and looks like you might have a meet going on here. Drone here. All red. Hope the crew doesn't mind us flying by them like this. Let's fly over to Pittsfield. Looks like there might be a transformer ready to leave town. Oh yeah, GE's got one ready to go. I have the Ryder Caboose, and it's one of the smaller Schnabel cars ready to go. With an idler gondola. How nice. Just be waiting for the local to come pick it up. That local had to sit there for quite a while before he got cleared out. Love these drones.